that we have several board members here tonight that I would like to introduce. President Patty Stedman, if she wants to wave her hand to the group. Vice President Jim Jonas. Kara Gravely Stack. Jessica Jackson. John Erickson. Dan Schaefer. And this evening, Tricia Page was unable to join us tonight, but she is also a board member. So I want to thank our board for taking an active participation in our State of the Schools event and for their leadership these past years that I've been involved in the district. Several of them have been very involved, and we welcome our newer members and are appreciative of all of them. Just moving into what tonight is going to look like, I want to share with you what our, if I can get my screen to move, what we are hoping to accomplish this evening. The objectives for tonight are that our participants are going to learn about the district projected enrollment and strategic plan. We're going to have a conversation about what the profile of a graduate is and how it's embedded into our guaranteed and viable curriculum. We're going to hear reflections and experiences from 2 Cheyenne students and 1 West Fargo High School student. And then following those presentations, the participants on this meeting or in this group tonight will also be moved into a smaller group for a more intimate conversation with a facilitator or board member to discuss what some of our celebrations are, impressions of the district, suggestions to continue on the path of excellence, and just have a conversation about what we want to continue to do well in our district and some areas that we would like to continue to work on. Following this event, I'll ask that each of our participants complete an exit survey that will come to you by email. So that will not be given to you tonight, but you should look for that in the morning. The first thing I just want to mention is that we've stopped talking a lot about the enrollment and the growth that's happened in our district, but we did just work with a demographer and we are reevaluating what our enrollment is. And you can see that we are continuing to be the fastest growing district in the state. Currently, we are at 11,600 students, and we're expected to be over 12,000 students next year. I think the enrollment estimate or projection is 12,034. So we see that that growth is continuing and will continue into the future. So we are always planning ahead and planning for how we can best serve our students, which leads us to our different feeder systems that we have. We have 14 elementary schools in the district, 3 middle schools, and then 2 high schools. But this coming fall, we will have 3 high schools. Horace High will come on. So we are excited that over the last 10 years, we've built a new school every year except for 1. And yet we continue to be progressive and to make incredible improvements in our instructional practices and what we're able to offer our students with activities and just a really well-rounded education. So we're excited, very excited about all of that. So to begin with, I just want to bring to your attention what the mission is of our district, and that is educating today's students for tomorrow's world. Not the school that we attended in years ago, but our schools have changed. And the reason why they've changed is because our world has changed. With the rapid development of technology and the fact that there are so many jobs that will be in the future that we don't even know exist today, we have to educate students differently than we were educated when we were growing up. So our first goal is around empowering our students to develop those proficiencies in all of their academic areas, as well as those 21st century skills or soft skills. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like in West Fargo. Our second goal is around graduating students to be prepared to pursue their passion and continue to be lifelong learners and to contribute to our society in a positive way. And then our third goal revolves around really ensuring that we have nurturing and safe environments and strong relationships so that students are not only academically growing, but they are also emotionally well in their learning here at West Fargo schools. So I don't expect you to be able to read all of this, but this is our strategic map. And I just want to tie it back to the strategic plan for you. So bringing back that vision and mission, and looking at our first goal, which really is about preparing students to be future ready. Our second goal, what it comes down to, is being choice ready. And our third goal revolves around, again, that safe learning environment and building those strong relationships within our schools so that students are emotionally well and really excelling at the best that they're able to because of that. And again, this is just tying a little bit more into that. All of these bullets that you see are all come down to our intended outcomes that we're hoping to accomplish through our critical initiatives. Our critical initiatives in West Fargo first are that we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum. We expect every child, regardless of the school they attend, or the teacher in front of the room, or the neighborhood they live in, or who the principal is, we expect that they all have equal access to that guaranteed and viable curriculum. And we provide training and assurances that that happens. The second critical initiative revolves around the personalized competency-based learning. So I wanted to alert all of you that West Fargo is in its third year of a pilot with the state of North Dakota. We are one of 4 districts that are involved. And with that, we are working towards providing our students with a personalized competency-based educational experience, which means that we have developed proficiency skills, and we have identified specifically what we want our students to know and to be able to do. And because we have done that, and we're working towards moving that through our senior high, right now we've completed K-8, and we're working through getting those proficiency skills finalized at the high school and completing those. Because we are doing that, we are able then to start more personalization of learning that will give our students more voice and choice and able to show their learning in different ways. And we believe that that's going to really allow them to explore different areas of interest that'll help them to be choice ready, because they will have had opportunities to find out what they like to do and what they are good at, and that it will help them be more engaged in school. People like to learn when they are really interested and in those topics. So it's not changing the standards. We are still following all of the North Dakota standards. However, we want to be able to allow students opportunities to show those learnings of those standards in different ways. We are also focused on ensuring that our students have proficiency in those content standards and in the dispositions of a profile of a graduate, which I'll get into soon. And then our fourth initiative is to make sure that we are fostering our relationships for emotional wellness for all of our staff and for all of our students. So those are things that we continue to work on every single day. This is a chart that you may or may not have seen. And I wanted to keep this pretty simple. Blue +2. So as part of the North Dakota Accountability Program, we are required to train, or to provide opportunities, I should say, for our students to be choice ready. The first box, which is blue, ties to our proficiencies and our standards and our core content areas, that every student needs to have those essential skills. But then beyond that, we need to prepare students to be prepared in 2 of the 3 areas below, either post-secondary, workforce ready, or military ready. So a student can be post-secondary ready and military ready, or workforce ready and military ready. But we want them to have options. And to have options, they need to explore a lot of different areas of our course of studies. And they need to have different experiences. And so that, what we believe is that by helping students become choice ready, they will go into their post-high school life with an idea of what they want to do and with understanding what their interests are, and that if they choose to go to a 4-year school, they have an idea of what they want to explore. If they choose to go into the military and then follow with a 4-year school or a 2-year school, they might decide to go into the workforce, and while they are working, gain credentials. So there are a lot of different pathways for students, and one size does not fit all. And so that's really what tonight is all about, is to learn more about how we're doing that with our students. This document is a document that we've created together collectively with a variety of different stakeholders. And we have begun implementing this last year. And it is our profile of a graduate with the 8 dispositions that we want all students to leave West Fargo Public Schools having a better understanding of. And so the blue on the left, critical thinking, communicator, creative, and resilience, we have built into our academics as proficiencies. So we have built proficiency scales to measure those different areas. And then if you look at collaborative, compassionate, and responsible, those are dispositions that we built into the behaviors. So at the elementary level, you'll see that it looks like approaches to learning. And then when we get into the middle school, it looks like the CCRs that you would see on a family's report to parents. But we're building those in. And we know that for students to be successful, they have to have these skills as well. And adults have to have these skills as well, too. And we'll actually talk about those when we get into the norms. I did send this to you through Alicia Severson. So when you're listening to the presentations tonight, you may want to pull them up on your screen just as a reference. So the highlight of tonight is me stopping talking and these students starting talking. My first year when we did the State of the Schools, I did most of the talking. Last year, we brought students to the State of the Schools and we were able to be in person, which was really a nice way to have conversations and to listen to the students. With the pandemic, we decided to do it virtually. So we will be doing it, having them present online tonight. But I'm just so very excited because these students are coming to you with different pathways. Thinking about what I just explained about the proficiencies, thinking about what I just explained about the profile of a graduate in the dispositions, thinking about being choice ready. I want you to hear these students and to be thinking about how they've reflected on their own experiences to make the decisions that they're making going into their futures. And just to have a conversation following these students about how this may look similar to things that you've experienced when you were going to school, or maybe how it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to start with Caden Anderson tonight. Caden is a student from Cheyenne High School, and she is going to introduce herself and tell you all about her. I mentioned to you earlier on that you did receive an email from Alicia that had a form. If you want to ask the students questions, just open up that form and submit them, and we will have Heather Lease, who's assisting with me tonight, and along with Alicia Severson, we'll have them ask those questions to the students at the end of their presentation. So feel free to do that, and I'll stop talking. Caden, you are up. I suppose I need to stop sharing, huh? There we go.
Hi, my name is Caden Anderson. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to share with you information I've gained from my Capstone experience. I'm a senior at Cheyenne High School. Before I jump to the future, though, I want to share a little bit about the school and community activities that keep me busy right now. I'm very active in DECA, which I joined as a freshman. This year I have the honor of being the Cheyenne High School chapter president. I'm a founding member of our school's Future Business Leaders of America. I've been in both 4-H and Girl Scouts since early elementary school. I am currently serving as my 4-H club's vice president, and I just finished my Girl Scout Gold Award. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Gold Award is the Girl Scout equivalent of a Boy Scout Eagle Award. I'm also a cross-country runner, a thrower in track and field, involved in many other clubs, and last but certainly not least, I play the cello in my school's orchestra. Looking to next year, my plans include attending Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. At Drake, I plan to double major. My desired majors are international relations, which includes a language study, and law, politics, and society. Law, politics, and society is a Drake major focused on how law, politics, and society interact to form the world as we know it. Drake also offers a minor in human rights that I'm also very interested in, as my ultimate goal is to become a human rights lawyer. Becoming a lawyer requires additional schooling. At this point, I'm not sure where I'd like to attend law school. However, I spent time learning about law schools and things I should consider doing over the course of the coming years to prepare me to gain admission to the law school of my choice. One of the many things I liked about Drake University is that it's a law school on campus. Since my future plans are in the legal field, I decided to research this area for my Capstone project. Using my own research, I created a timeline of what my life would look like if I pursued this career. I learned about what would be a good undergraduate degree for the type of law I'm going into. I learned about preparing for and taking the law school admissions test, or LSAT. I also sought out information on attending law school and possible jobs within the legal profession. All this research was completed with the focus of making sure I'm prepared to start my college career on the best foot possible. Given one of the best ways to learn is to learn from those who have gone before you, I focused my research on learning from others by interviewing current lawyers and judges. I reached out to 7 different lawyers. 5 of the lawyers I reached out to live in the local Fargo-Moorhead area community. The 2 others grew up in the local area, but moved and are currently practicing law on the East or West Coast. I have reached out to lawyers that practice different types of law, as that provide me with the best well-rounded information. Fortunately, all the lawyers I reached out to responded, and I've been able to meet with 6 of them so far. I'm excited to share with you the information I have learned. One of the lawyers I met with was Patricia Munson. Pat has been a civil litigator in the Fargo-Moorhead community for over 40 years. She shared information about her litigation experiences and how there's no typical day in the legal field. I learned that when a case goes to trial, the days are long and achieving a work-life balance is hard. Pat talked about law classes in her experience were set up in a Socratic structure. They would research a significant amount of cases outside the classroom, and when they were together in the classroom, they would discuss the cases. Pat also shared that when she attended law school, there were very few females in the profession. Ryan Thorson was another lawyer I met with. Ryan received his undergraduate degree from Harvard University. Then went to earn his master's and doctorate from Oxford University, where he studied as a Rhodes Scholar. Ryan then continued his schooling and received his law degree at Yale Law School. Currently, Ryan works as a human rights researcher focused on LGBT rights. As a Cover Lowenstein Fellow at Yale Law School, he's a clinical lecturer and works with Yale law students on cases. Ryan provided me with some great tips, such as when applying to law school, I should make sure I understand the type of law that each school specializes in. I should then cater my application to that type of law. For example, Harvard is known for corporate lawyers, whereas New York University is known for its public service law program. The only person in the legal field I was able to meet with in person is Sean Hastings. I'm grateful for the opportunity to meet with her in person. Sean invited me to meet with her in her chambers in the U.S. Federal Courthouse in downtown Fargo. I even got a quick tour of her courtroom. Sean is the only federal bankruptcy judge in North Dakota. She also made history when she was the first appointed female bankruptcy judge in the United States. Sean's main piece of advice was to take the cases that seem weird and to raise my hand and volunteer for trips and opportunities when they are offered. It was also very interesting to meet with Brian Willamy. Brian is both a medical doctor and a lawyer. He participated in a special program through Mayo Medical School, where he started his medical school coursework. Then he went to law school to get his Juris Doctorate. Then he returned to medical school to get his medical doctorate. Brian talked a lot about how being a lawyer can be hard to balance with a social life. Working at a large firm typically means your workday is around 12 hours. He also confirmed what I already knew, that graduating from law school will bring on a lot of debt. Brian recommended spend the first few years after law school working as a corporate or in-house lawyer, as they generally pay more. That would allow me to focus on getting law school debt paid for, while also gaining valuable on-the-job experience before moving on to focus on being a human rights lawyer. Dale Cadillac, the corporate in-house lawyer on the Microsoft Barber campus, was another lawyer I met with. He provided tips on how to secure a job in the legal field and shared information about a few different types of lawyers. I learned more about being an in-house lawyer, a government lawyer, and being a lawyer in a law firm. Each of these types of lawyers have a different type of cases and therefore have a different life. Dale provided some great advice around securing a job after law school. He recommended to make connections and look for clerkships, even if it's just volunteering to be a law clerk in the summer while attending law school. I also interviewed the youngest elected political party chairperson in the United States, Kylie Overseen. Along with being the current Democratic chairperson for North Dakota, Kylie is a lawyer focused on Social Security disability, product liability claims, class action litigation, and employment claims. When Kylie was attending law school at the University of North Dakota, she was a member of the North Dakota State Legislature. She told me that to be successful in law school, you need to find friends that will help and support you. You need to study a lot, and you need to get to know your professors, as you will leverage their connections outside of school. There were some common themes amongst the information I gathered from the lawyers I interviewed. I learned that you can pretty much major in whatever interests you for an undergraduate degree. When it comes to getting admission to law school, the type of undergraduate degree does not matter as much as your grade point average and the clubs and activities you actively participated in while attending school. They also shared that it's important to find a work-life balance that works for you, and it may be harder to achieve this balance given the amount of work and time it takes to become a lawyer. Also, when asked, all 6 of them said there was a large leap from attending law school to having a successful legal career. While you learn a lot at law school, you will learn even more once you have your first legal job. So you have to be willing to learn, especially the practical skills that are not taught during law school. Finally, a large majority of the career is spent reading and writing. So they all recommend I start working on strengthening those skills now. In addition to researching the legal field, I also created my profile of a graduate as part of my Capstone class. The 2 dispositions I am sharing today are compassionate and collaborative. These 2 skills have helped me discover who I am and who I want to be in the future. Starting with compassionate, ever since I can remember, my parents raised me to help others, and it's something I look forward to continuing with my future career. As of today, I've given back through multiple summer mission trips across the United States and even one to Ecuador. These experiences have opened my eyes to the world around me, both the good and the bad. I have also volunteered with many organizations, including volunteering yearly with Feed My Starving Children, Project Linus, Fraser LTD's Festival of Trees. This past summer and fall, I earned my Girl Scout Gold Award. As part of this project, I created 20 Calm Down kits that I donated to the West Fargo Public Schools Early Childhood Center. These kits can positively impact over 150 children, as the materials are designed to help children learn more about their emotions, how to understand and explain their emotions, and how to calm down so they can learn more while attending school and at home. The second disposition, collaborative, has been a big part of my DECA career. Sophomore year and junior year, I compete with a partner in the financial team decision-making role play. My partner and I were given a prompt and then had 30 minutes to create a presentation, and then we had to present it in front of the judges. We also had to answer any questions the judges had on the prompt we had just received. My sophomore year, we took first in state, and my junior year, we took second in state. These experiences taught me the importance of being able to collaborate effectively, especially when there are time constraints. Another way I collaborated was with my entrepreneur and management class, where I created Hakoda with 4 other classmates, including Rebecca Kapoor, who you will hear from later. Hakoda was a business that sold hats. Like most group projects, we would occasionally disagree about certain aspects. Hakoda taught me how to work with my classmates to overcome obstacles and disagreements in a respectful and professional manner. Overall, even during COVID, I learned a lot about my intended future career and had a positive experience with my Capstone project. I plan to continue meeting with and learning more about the legal profession. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you, Caden. That was wonderful. Do we have any questions in the forum at this time, Heather?
There are no questions for Caden.
Okay, and you might have questions at the end that you want to throw out there too, that you can go ahead and do that. Our next speaker is Christian Smith, and Christian is going to give you another look at a student, and he comes from West Fargo High School, and about the experiences he's had and his pathway that he's choosing. So if Christian is ready.
Yes. Share, there we go. Okay, so the profile of graduate. Okay, so a little about myself, a little context here. Obviously born in Fargo, like most of us are from the school district. I went to Eastwood for my first and fifth grade, and then went from Cheney to 6th to 8th grade. And currently I'm a senior, obviously, in my 4th year at West Fargo High School. And all in all my years have been through the West Fargo Public School District. Activities, obviously here's a photo of me now. I am in the uniform for tonight. It'll include JROTC, which for that, if you don't know, is the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps, still offered by West Fargo Public Schools at Fargo South. Currently, I'm the flight commander of my class and the commander of the Armed Regulation Drill Team. I'm in an orchestra. I play the violin. I am on the trap and skeet team, both summer and fall seasons, with last year placing top 100 in the state. I participate in our fishing league, and then also am part of the Civil Air Patrol, which, for those who do not know, is the U.S. Air Force Auxiliary Fleet. Through there, I'm the cadet commander of my squadron. I am a ground team 3 member, so I participate in real-world search and rescue missions within our local community and state. I am also the cadet vice chair of the North Dakota Cadet Advisory Council, and I am the cadet assistant representative for the North Central region, composed of 8 states in the Midwest. To continue a little bit out here, I don't have a slide on it since I want to elaborate on it. Plans after high school. Obviously, my plans are military. If you see from my photo there, very militaristic. That is me in my Civil Air Patrol uniform. Currently, plan is to apply for the United States Naval Academy, which I did submit my application this past Friday. For that, I did earn 5 congressional nominations through our state, and currently am also enlisted in the United States Navy. Oh, there we go. So my first disposition I want to go off of is collaborative here. Collaboration, and why I mentioned too, is a lot of these dispositions, what I really do enjoy about these is that they all really merge together. They all kind of bounce off and relate off of one another. And so the first one I want to go is collaboration, which is a key aspect, I would say, in all teamwork, which I would say is a good portion of also these profiles of graduate. But the work is, and here at West Fargo High, a lot of our projects revolve around teamwork, and I find that fantastic. My favorite example I like to show off, which is our physics boat project our school offers. For those who do not know, the physics boat project is where several physics students are given the task of creating a cardboard boat using, say, paint, some just duct tape and cardboard to create a boat and float, and applying math and physics to give us a little STEM portion of the project. To really make it collaborative, though, is that you're not really given much class time, because work time in class, as it is very difficult to build a boat in the space at the high school. And so the way we really like it collaborative is that we come together, kind of assign group leaders, and working on how to working together on getting time after school. For me, I led our group in our project, and we met after school, basically using kind of like a text system, appointing me as the leader to kind of get us going. That truly is a great project offered by their school. Another example I like to go through is through the Civil Air Patrol, which is our different kind of training command through our agencies, through our local services. So in the photo on the top left there is me during an October search and rescue mission. But way you really get that kind of after high school experience working together with collaboration is that we work with other agencies. So we will work directly with the Air Force, incident commanders, which those are the people that are in charge of the missions within the state. So it kind of elaborates on our collaboration capabilities of a high school or after high school. Okay, so communication. Again, like I said, some of these tie together a little bit. So collaboration and communication are very key together, and they are in the same section on our profile of a graduate. So I want to go with our project text groups, which my favorite example, at least I've had, is through AP European History in my sophomore year. What we did is basically we were given the task of finishing 200 vocabulary and historical phrases and events, and we had to submit those in for extra credit. But realizing that's 200 words, that's very much a lot. So we as high schoolers, we came together and actually we created kind of like a text group. And so we kind of divvied in the work together, and then we all referenced each other's materials and completed it. So we saved each other time, and also saved each other, trying to figure out a word here, saved each other some class time as well. So for more study material for this project text group, we actually use more of a calling system. And then from there, we kind of had little leaders, and everyone called each other and feedback and submitting photos to make sure everyone had everything on time. Another thing I want to go off is weekly meeting emails. I should put in parentheses there of the Civil Air Patrol, but on a weekly basis, at least, I have a outside of high school disposition here. Civil Air Patrol, I put in weekly meetings to my local squadron as I am the cadet commander. I will send out an email telling what are we doing, what are we wearing, where is it, and when is it, along with any forms or documents that need to be attached. And so that's really good kind of outside of school aspect that's been applied to this communication role. Okay, so resilience. So the need for improvement. Last year in Algebra 2, I admit I am not the best when it comes to mathematics. I struggled very much in that class, and to enforce this idea of resilience, our teacher offered kind of after-school tutoring with help in the class. I asked the teacher, typically, most times I ask her one or two things in class on the assignment. But when we started getting towards my grades not looking so great in math and algebra 2, I started going to her every single day. I'll give a shout out to Miss Maria Pegg. She is a great algebra 2 teacher. And for what she did is very phenomenal. But for resilience, instead of just, accepting that I'm not going to understand it, every day after school, I kept on going back to her every single day on every assignment to make sure I understood the context. So when I went home and did further study, I understood it and could be ready for the test material. And so that my skills would suffice for the exams. Another one I want to go off of here, number 2, is color guard. In JRHC, this is probably one of the best examples. The photo here is actually of the West Fargo JRHC when it was in the Army phases of the program. But the best example is of creating our kind of problem-solving skills with resilience, most commonly applied to the color guard. As we need a kind of a strict and precise work, we need to work around problems. Color guards typically are going to be in a forward motion. You go out, you turn, you come left. But the amount of practice that goes into these and all that resilience of keep on pushing forward and studying the material really furthers this idea that when it comes to a practice and, well, say it's not as how it should be as you had practiced, me coming out as a leader then kind of proves that we can work together by everyone having already practiced, and they can know the material, and I can tell them, hey, this is the new plan. We're going to get ready to do this new plan, and we're going to go out there and do it. And no matter what alterations to the plan happen, we're capable of doing it. My third example here of resilience from my past experience here is through the Civil Air Patrol and our real world missions. So like I did mention, I have been on some real world missions in our state for emergencies. The one I always reflect upon is the emergency in October of 2019. We had a missing aircraft during the October snowstorm. But at the time, I completed most of my training, but there are some things that were still need to be completed. But the act of resilience here is that civil rights lawyers, we have this gung-ho mentality to serve the community whenever the time may call. So for me, I got word from top brass comes on down to me, and they said, hey, there's a search. Who here is ready? I asked, was I ready? They said no, but they said, this is what you need to get done. So that night, the word went out. I completed several different female courses, several study materials that night, just so when the next day came forward, I could serve my community and state. I can, come on. There we go. Next, I want to move on to creative. So the STEM physical science class, this by far has been one of my favorite classes in the science category offered at West Fargo High. In the STEM physical science, we had the STEM night, which is one of our big quarterly grades, which we showed off the STEM fields, which, if you don't know, STEM is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and how we kind of apply them to the real world. In this case, we were able to split off into groups, and through the groups, we kind of like decided what we wanted to establish based on what we had learned in previous units. Here in our group, we were able to use some of our passions, some of the things we like, and specifically some of my passions, to create the group project. For our group, we utilized my passion, obviously, is the military, and specifically the Navy. So we utilized the idea of one of the Navy's newest weapon systems, which was a railgun, but we used the science behind it as it applied to our unit. So we used what's called the Lorentz force effect. I'm not going to dive into it because I'm sure you don't want to hear a science lecture right now, but that is our project right there. But kind of expressing how we use that creative idea of our passions, what we want to do after high school, but also using it in the class at the same time. A little bit more to that creative idea too is we used our diversity in our groups of what we had done. So one of our friends was working in the rec engines class, and we needed a sufficient power source for our rails. So you can see in the corner, he worked in rec engines, so he grabbed a car battery and we hooked it up to our rail system. One of our other friends in our group worked in the woods class, so we were able to use we were able to cut up our 2x4 because he had access to the woods class, really showing that creative teamwork and diversity in that one project right there. Very proud of that one. The next one I really like also is creative problem solving, more of the statewide, which is again through the Civil Air Patrol, which was a recruiting retention issue. So as mentioned before, I'm on the North Dakota, so this state, the state's Cadet Advisory Council. What we do is essentially we just advise, change anything to the cadet program we think is needed to run the state better. And of course, currently after the pandemic, there have been some severe problems with recruiting and retention. So they kind of get around this. As the vice chair, I'm not allowed to vote. So using my little creativeness there, I was able to influence my primary representative to vote me as the chair, as the head of a committee. So I could kind of, let's see here. So I could admit a memorandum towards the state that would allow for a new cords be worn, which these cords then kind of are a motivation piece for cadets. They wear like a shoulder cord and they go, man, that's pretty cool. I bet you I could do that. And it's kind of a proud moment of being creative, working around the system, also with the system to recruit more, but also to retain in a cadet outside of high school aspect. And that will be all.
Thank you so much, Christian. And I said this to you the other day, thank you for your service, and to think that you're already serving in so many ways, as is Caden with the work that she's been doing too with her Girl Scout troop and volunteering. We have amazing students at West Fargo schools, and they have amazing educators that are helping these students really bring to life their passions. So our last speaker today is going to be Rebecca Kapoor, and I think she should be ready to go.
Okay, you guys hear me? Is it sharing properly? Hope it is. There we go. Okay. Can you guys see my screen okay?
I do not see your screen yet unless I'm,
Oh. Share screen.
did Christian stop sharing? Is that part of it, Alicia? Yeah,
Yep,
you must have, because I don't
He
see
did
it.
stop sharing. Down at the bottom, Rebecca, there should be a green share screen.
Mm-hmm.
And when you click on that, it should give you some options.
Mm-hmm.
I think she did it, but Christian hadn't quit yet and they just hit at the wrong time. She tried again.
Okay.
Okay, so if I click screen now, it'll work.
Try again. Yep.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. Hey, we're flexible.
There we go.
All right, now we see it.
Now you guys can see it. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Rebecca Kapoor. I am a senior at Cheyenne High School, and I am also 17 years old. So this is my project, my STEM Capstone internship. So let's just dive in. So this is who I am. All these people here make me. I'm involved in DECA as well. I used to play an instrument in our school's band for, I don't know, 8 years now. So, and these are all my nieces and nephews and my family members that I love and care so much about. I also have Mr. Schleicher up there. He's been really good help throughout this whole high school experience. And I also have our football players here because I used to help manage for our football team. So let's continue. With our internship, I interned at Beyond Realty and I had aspirations to become a real estate agent. So I went to our local real estate agency at Beyond Realty with Mr. Scott Breitenbach. He's listed over, he's one of the co-owners of Beyond Realty. He actually left Park & Co. and created this new agency with 3 of the other members. And I also went to Spire Realty where I am residing now. I'm currently interning with Becky. She's been keeping me up to date so much. She's been introducing me to the closing process and how the final walkthrough is, final paperwork, etc. Also Flex MLS, which they use to, it's a 24-hour update system where all local agents can upload their homes, etc. And also I learned how to do specials, which has been a lot in our West Fargo area, and also how to calculate mortgages alongside. I didn't know this, but House Hunter is staged. So every time you watch it, just think of that. And also, how do you communicate with buyers or sellers after their home process? And lastly, how to become an agent in North Dakota. I went through the rundown, the classes, how long it would take, etc. And Catherine here is CEO, and you guys will hear more about her later. So many people don't know that there is a difference between a real estate agent and a realtor. They essentially are the same thing, but a realtor just has a higher status. It has the National Association of Realtors, so that's what makes them a difference between the two of them. And how do real estate agents know when a market or a listing is on the market? So once again, all real estate agents or realtors with all across America use Flex MLS. This is where all of them are able to interact with one another. You can't do it by yourself. It's more of a teamwork sort of thing. So this is what they use to let everybody know what's on the market. How much do real estate agents make? This was one of my big things that I wanted to know about. I'm like, I'm gonna be fresh out of high school. Am I gonna make money right away? But it's all about how much time and effort you put into things. That's why I learned about real estate. For us in high school, we're learning that how much time you put into it, your grades will be better, etc. So kind of those same rules apply in real estate. So it all depends on how much experience you have, how much hours you put in, how much your customers can reside in you, or how comfortable they feel with you. And by that, you can have more people know about you because it's word of mouth promoting. So also all these 5 list of things here will help you to be a great agent and also make enough money doing your trade. How to find clients. It's everywhere. Nowadays, there's social media, word of mouth, and also social gatherings. You got to promote yourself out there so people know about you. If you don't promote yourself, you're just going to be left in the dust. So one thing I've learned is to get myself out there, start networking with people. You never know when that person can come around or may need a house potentially. So the best thing is just putting yourself out there, market yourself to the best of your abilities in order to find clients in order to build customer relations, etc. So I was very curious. I know in our area that we've been discussing the topic of growth in our West Fargo area. So I was like, so let me see what our market looks like. So currently on your left, you can see there's an increase in our population. Also why we have a large amount of schools being built and trying to contain all the people that are moving here. Also our housing market area will increase 1.4% annually. So on this graph, it shows you how significantly our area has grown and how home ownership has also taken a high rise. So, yep, and on the right also further explains that too. How competitive is the field? Once again, it's very competitive because as the housing market goes up, the more available agents there are, the more competition it creates. So it's better to know your customers and understand what their needs are and what the market is offering at the time. If it cooperates with your client or whatever the case may be, just understanding the market, understanding what's out there. And so it gets competitive, but you have to find it out. So how is the workload / overall environment? Actually, when I went to Beyond Realty, it was because it was during COVID. It wasn't that many people there, but it's mostly you do your own thing in a way. So you do your work, but it's all up to you how much you're willing to do. That goes back to the slide of how much hard work you put in, you'll reap the rewards. So this is what that comes into play as well. So however much work you want to do, it will also show in your results and your reward at the end. So moving on next, what is the criteria to become a real estate agent? For me, I plan on becoming a real estate agent by the end of this year when I turn 18, that's the goal. But these are all the requirements, such as having a legal US residency, passing your state, and the national board test. And these are different places that we have in Fargo that we are attending to. For me personally, I'll be taking the one in Minnesota because I hope to go to school there and eventually transferring my license over to North Dakota. So I also took interest into real estate investment courses. I actually went to one last week, I believe. And it was so informative. I didn't even know this stuff even happened out there, but I was so glad I took the class just to see what other avenues I can explore, being so young and feeling what works for me. And I figured out how to find investors when you have no money like me. I'm gonna be a broke student, so how can I find investors? Well, there's this thing called wholesaling, which will help you to build a tracking record to appeal to future investors. Wholesaling is basically you find homes for flippers. Those are people who are trying to flip homes in underdeveloped areas or anywhere that's in a dumpy area. And you find homes for them, make sure it's marketable and everything's up to par, and you sell to them and you make a profit. And secondly, I also learned how to flip homes. You need to find a credible team of contractors and investors, but that comes after building a good track record after wholesaling. And I also learned how to become profitable in your return on investment. Establish an ARV after repair value and identify list. Basically, you just want to make sure that before you go into a home, you understand the cost that it's everything that's what it's going to cost and how it applies to your budget and your needs and getting that home the best way. So on the next phase of this class, I took the Capstone portion. The two dispositions I used was resilience. One of them is resilience. This sort of speaks about how my passion for real estate sparked. The middle house is where I grew up in Rochester, New York. Everywhere around me just seemed to be filled with drugs or alcohol. And our house actually got broken into one night when we went to church. We were having like a, prayer night or revival or something like that. And when we came home, all our stuff was everywhere. And I was like, why do we live here? So it was so hard for me to understand that growing up, like, why can't we have a nice home in the suburbs? But at the same time, my mom was a single mom. She had 4 kids to raise. She was an immigrant to this country, so it was impossible for her to get a brand new house. So that's kind of sparked like, oh, maybe if I can do something, help people find these forever homes so they won't ever have to deal with the lifestyle I had to deal with. But eventually my mom realized that this wasn't a place to raise children. And we ended up moving to Iowa and then back to Rochester. Then eventually we came here. So this place really opened my eyes to a new reality things I didn't know were possible. But now it's like, oh, everything's possible now because I have the resources here that I didn't have there. To be honest, if I were to stay there, I wouldn't know where I would end up. So this leads to my next disposition. My mother also cured cancer my junior year, the second semester of junior year. And she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So I was like, oh, what am I gonna do? My mom's just got cancer and my siblings have work and I have school. Like, what are we gonna do without our mom? So it was really hard for me, especially because I didn't want to tell my teachers, my peers. I didn't want to tell anyone because I felt like I didn't want to feel the pity from anybody because I feel like they expected more from me. So I just try to bury it down and just try to make it not my reality, I guess. So I eventually was like, you know what, I can't do this on my own. So that's when I leaned more into my faith, more with God, and I started questioning and all that stuff, becoming more resentful towards everything. But once I was like, oh, you know what, God, if you help my mom get better, I'll be more serious with you. I'll be more faithful, etc. And then she got better and I was like, oh, okay. Now I have to keep up my promise. So that's what I did. So I'm so glad that my mom is doing better now. She's back at work and she's just stronger day by day. And I'm so grateful that she didn't leave us when she did, when she could have. But I'm so grateful for everything. Even like my teachers, they just found out this year and they're like, oh, but it's okay. And I'm really grateful for everyone that did help and stick with me through everything. So for that, I'm totally grateful. On to the next one. This disposition was creativity. And these are my senior pictures, actually. I just wanted to do something that would make my voice heard with all the stuff that's going on in our world with racial injustice, etc. So I just wanted to do something that would, like, without being violent or hateful towards other people, I wanted to do something that would be more peaceful and more calm. So I did like a transitional phase or whatever you would like to call it. This first one is the roots. This relates back to the African culture, basically being village, being more isolated and just following the rules of whoever. So I just took a picture capturing that time in history. Then I transitioned to becoming a queen. Just nowadays that word's just tossed around, but I feel like it has so much meaning and power behind it. So I just wanted to reflect in my photographs for my senior pictures. I just want like, oh yeah, I'm transitioning to this new woman, taking control of my life just day by day. And then it leads to the 60s, which is my next shoot, where women became even more empowered to do more things, stepping out of the box. So I did that for my transitional era. So yeah, and then finally it led to our modern day era, being me, not caring about what the world says, just being me for who I am. And then next I have my future. So this is a checklist I made the first time I presented, and some things have been checked off. I actually found a college that I wanted to go to. But the thing, what I want to do is I want to try real estate out until the end of this year. And if it goes well for me, I'm going to continue with it. But if I decide it's not really for me, then I have my school of choice, Hamline University in St. Paul, which I hope to attend if real estate doesn't work in the spring of next year. And I also plan to take some online real estate courses this summer. So when I turn 18, I can be prepared for the test. I also have internet Aspire Realty, and I still am. And the one thing I'm waiting for is graduation, which is coming up really soon. So I'm so grateful for that. And the works of purchasing my own car is currently being installed right now. So hopefully I can get it by the end of this month. So we're actually doing some payments and stuff on it. So I'm so grateful. But yeah, this is my presentation. I want to say thank you guys so much for coming out. And I do want to congratulate you, Christian. I know it wasn't easy doing what you do, but I salute you. And I also want to thank everyone for showing up here today and taking time out of your schedule. So yeah, this was my presentation. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. That was wonderful. You could see why today I wanted to talk as little as possible. I just couldn't wait for you to meet some of our students. I had the opportunity to see several student presentations, And every one of them was just so rewarding to hear how they've taken what they've learned in school and applied it in different ways to meet their needs, and that personalization piece. Each one of them has personal pieces to their presentations and to their futures. So I'm going to jump into just a few directions before we go into the next phase of the evening. And we're going to be happy to know that our students are going to be on our panels, so they'll be in your groups. So what I did is I took the profile of a graduate and I pulled out some pieces from the profile of a graduate that I thought could apply to tonight. So what's going to happen is, without doing anything, you're sitting in your living rooms, but Alicia is going to magically beam you into a virtual room. And when you get into that virtual room, you'll be greeted by a very hospitable board member or facilitator of your group. And they're going to spend a few minutes allowing you to introduce yourselves. And then they're going to ask you a few different questions. And it's just going to be a dialogue. There'll be somebody in there taking notes so that the person facilitating can just engage with you and not have to worry about writing things down. And in those groups, there will be parents. There will be community members that don't have children in school. There will be some legislators that will be participating. There will be educators. Some of the educators are teachers. Some of the educators are para-educators. Some are maybe a bus driver. There will be some that have kids in school and work for the district. And then there's going to be students there. Some of the students that you just heard from will be in those groups. And then other students that we were so grateful to our high schools for finding some other students that would be willing to sit in and have those conversations too. So it'll be a good chance for us to engage in conversations and listen effectively. Resilience, managing strong feelings and impulses effectively. Interacting respectfully, both as an individual and then working in that group. Recognizing that some people have had some experiences that other people haven't had, and they're going to share those, and we want to be respectful that we all haven't had the same experience. But we do need to hear all perspectives in order to continue to get better as a district. And then that reflection, engaging in peer feedback to enhance learning, just reflecting on the experience so that you can complete the exit interview and provide us with even more feedback tomorrow if you are able to. So that is how that is going to work out. At 8:25, whether you're done or not, you'll magically appear back here for a quick closing, and then we'll be ending the evening. So I think that was what I probably needed to share. And here are the questions you're going to be asked. When thinking about the three different presentations, what stands out to you in regards to profile of a graduate, or what stands out to you in general? What really intrigued you? And then to achieve those dispositions of the profile of a graduate, what should we continue to do and what should we let go? And the reason why I really think this is important is last year when we did this same presentation, it wasn't exactly the same, but we did the state of the schools. We had not experienced online learning or distance learning. We had not experienced a pandemic. I didn't know how to do a Teams meeting last year at this time. And there are so many things that from the pandemic that look different now. What are some of those things that maybe we should continue or to incorporate, but then what do we need to let go because we can't do it all? So, what things will get us to the point that we're really preparing today's learners for tomorrow's world? So those are the questions that you'll be asked, and I will stop and let Alicia put you into a group. If you don't disappear, then just hang tight and she will see where she can put you. And if we could clap for those students, I think we should all do a little air clap because they were amazing, absolutely amazing. And I'm forever grateful to all three of them. And for talk about getting up and doing this, this is hard. I get nervous and here they are. So thank you, thank you. You were amazing. Thank you for being patient. It takes a few minutes to get everybody where they need to be. Just hang tight if you're still looking at me. It'll all be over soon.
Okay, I added Dan to a room. I know that for certain because he's facilitating, but he is not going in for some reason. Let me see if I can get you in there. Okay.
Bye, Dan.
Bye, Dan. Okay. Who is the 1701-491-2977? There's just a phone number that's coming up, so I don't know who that is.
I see Lori Tomke from the Y. I'm assuming she needs to be in a room.
Yep, okay. They're showing that they're in a room. They're just not.
Okay. And Bernie too?
I don't know who Bernie Bem is. And
Beam?
Beam. There's a Bill Beam on, but
Maybe.
and that one doesn't have, it doesn't show that they have any sound. So I'm
Okay.
wondering. And Lori is the same way. She doesn't show that she has any sound.
Can they just be in a room listening then?
Yeah, and I think, I don't know how to, it's showing her in room 2, but it's showing her grayed out. So I'm not really sure why she
And I
may
think
have.
you want to stop streaming.